The Agency Principles Podcast with Doug Baxter and Simon Morgan.
What a buyer really needs to see is that I'm confident that the agency is in a place that we can help them accelerate from and into a mutually beneficial future.
That a lot of indie agency owners just aren't aware of the options that are open to them.
Hi, my name is Doug Baxter, and I'm the managing partner at Agency Futures. Welcome back to the Agency Principles Podcast. So today we're doing something a little bit different. We're sitting down with a leader of a agency business in Europe, and they have spent a lot of their time growing by acquisition, acquiring agencies in order to build out their group. And they're headquartered in Amsterdam and have in the past acquired agencies both in the Netherlands and also in the UK. They're not any longer looking to acquire in that traditional sense where they consolidate or they roll up for scale. What they're really looking to do is to extend the reach of a powerful AI platform that they've built. So I'd like to welcome my friend and colleague, Ruud Wanck from Candid platform. And so it'd be good if you could outline, the initial concept of the group and how you built up to now, and then talk us through how you look at the future and where your future growth and acquisitions are going to come from.
Thanks, Doc, and thanks for having me on the podcast. Interestingly enough, we've actually gone full circle. When Candid was founded 17, 18 years ago now, it was actually called Candid Platform, and we're still called Candid Platform because the ambition is not to become yet another holding group or create something which was similar but of a different scale, but really create something that is a platform that creates a foundation for an agency to grow, develop, and really scale itself, both in terms of clients, but also internationally. And what's been very interesting over the last couple of years is that AI has actually enabled us to truly deliver on that promise, where maybe in the years in between, we have become, I would almost say, a mini holding group in the way we developed ourselves through acquisitions and by creating a full service portfolio. What AI actually now does for us is to really bring that back to, I would say, the original roots of why we started the platform in the first place, is to enable an agency or multiple agencies to really develop itself in much more of a strategic partner for clients.
So in terms of what you've built in AI, where are the particular applications for your AI operating system? What services and what areas does it particularly excel in?
What we've learned, at least throughout the way we've worked with it and applied it more, is that, and maybe that's an interesting point to start, what AI is not good at. And what AI is not good at is being creative and being ingenuitive, coming up with new ideas. And what we've found in working with it, what AI is incredibly powerful at, is at consolidating and validating and producing. And then where the human ingenuity comes back in, which is part of the way we position ourselves, we really talk about AI as that marriage between human ingenuity and machine learning. And where the real power of AI comes in is to execute at scale and to bring things together in such a way where production times used to take weeks can now be done in days. And also where execution and validation of concepts can now be done in a matter of hours as opposed to days. That's where that application, because what AI is really, really good at is pattern recognition. And that's logical because that's its foundation. In the end, it's an algorithm. And the algorithm is really good at, much better, by the way, than human beings, in quickly recognizing patterns, putting the A's and the B's together in such a way that it can compare notes and all those kinds of things. What we've found, and I think that's the real stronghold of it, is that it doesn't replace some of the core components that we are hired for by clients, which is to be creative. Because if clients wanted in-the-box solutions, they can use an AI themselves. They come to us to have out-of-the-box ideas, out-of-the-box concepts, really marriage the work we do from a marketing and a creative level with the results that come out at the bottom line. And what we see is that AI is actually really, really powerful in that middle bit. So when you have the ideas, when you have the rough concept of where you want to go, is to validate it, develop it, and grow it. But then at the end, you really want to have the human being in place again to see, okay, but has this really been executed in the right direction? And has that really been done?
How long did that really take you to develop your solution? And what were the technical or organizational? I'm sure it changed your organization having to put that at the center. What were the organizational challenges that you faced
in developing a proposition around that and growing it? So I would say in its early infancy, we really started embedding it around 3 years ago. And then during the process, we took a quite different approach where, as opposed to having a small group of people develop it, we quite quickly opened it up in such a way and made it into a democratic process where everybody within our organization had access to the tools and systems. So all across the 300 people, we made sure that everybody has access to the AI tools, the AI systems, everything that's available. We have our own app environment where people can build their own tools using AI and programming their own AI agents, but then automatically everybody else has access to those. And that's really how we started developing it, not by focusing too much on internal training and theoretical downloads, but really just enabling everybody to have access and giving everybody the opportunity to, I would almost say, play around with it.
When you look at your future growth, how would you describe that strategically? How is AI going to drive the Candid platform forwards?
Yeah, I think what it does is, first of all, it really levels the playing field. So where you used to have a real benefit for bigger holding groups or bigger consulting firms out there versus the smaller ones, purely because of the scale and the different teams they could have in place. The other thing what it does, where it really changes the playing field, is where you used to work with a client and would probably say, okay, I'm going to make this creative asset for you. And by the way, it's going to take a couple of weeks to build it. All of a sudden, you can now create it in a couple of days. And by the way, you can't only create one in a couple of days. You can create multiple in a couple of days. So what is really going to bring for us as a business is abundance. And the way we talk about it internally, but I would also say externally, is think about where that factor of time comes in, right? Where you would always sit at a table or present for a client or create something and think about it. If only I had more time. Well, you have more time now, because it's right at your disposal. A lot of the workload can be done so much faster and so much easier and so much, I would say, directer, that it really enables you to go above and beyond. And I think that's where the business is going to go. Is average is no longer good enough because AI can do average, but we all have to step up in our industry and go well above average. And when we deliver well above average, we can really surprise clients again.
Well, let's talk about the side of the role of agencies and acquisitions in your future growth. So do you see it as a change from looking at agencies being critical in developing scale to agencies that you may acquire as critical to achieving broader distribution? Is that where the change is?
Yeah, definitely. Maybe the one little adjustment I would make is that I think scale, when you definitely talk about scale in the sense of footprint, being able to work internationally for clients, I think that's still important. But the old, I would say, model of acquiring multiple agencies because you increase your efficiency by adding scale, because you could centralize certain services, et cetera, I think that model is definitely done, because a lot of that work can be done by AI going forward. And also that level of automation will set in anyway. So what is becoming much more important is how does an acquisition enable me to service clients better? And how does an acquisition enable me to service a client maybe more international? Does it give me the footprint to be able to tap into multiple resources in different countries? So in that sense, the focus shifts much more from acquiring to become big to acquiring to become more diversified, and that could be diversified in your services offer, but it could also be becoming diversified in your geographical footprint.
And does that change the business model? Because traditionally, when the acquirers we talk to are doing these deals, they're really very focused on how that acquisition optimizes their EBITDAs. They look at these things as the group consolidated EBITDA, and through what this term vertical integrations, the cost synergies that they can achieve. But it's becoming, in what you're talking about, it's becoming such a technology enabled play, does that change the mechanics of the business model, or is it the same agency mechanics?
I think we are at the start of this becoming very different, actually. So obviously, some of those old metrics, whether an agency is healthy, profitable, has a good growth trajectory, that will never change. That will always be the same. But the focus is definitely going to be more and more also on seeing is the agency remunerated for its added value? We've all seen the agency model almost collapse a bit in certain areas where, let's say, the high level strategic work and the high level creative work is given away. And then all the money is earned on production through hours. And agencies who are shaped like that, they're going to struggle very, very quickly, because that's exactly the work that's going to be taken over by AI. So what's going to be more and more interesting is to look at those agencies that are actually remunerated for the strategy and the high level work, the strategic thinking. So through the positioning of our agencies being partner in possibilities, and with brand potential, we really focus on unlocking the brand potential or amplifying the brand potential. If that's the areas you're remunerated for, that will become much more the benchmark of what a healthy agency is. An agency that gives those services away and then makes the money on production, those are definitely not agencies that will be invested in anymore.
So when you start to look at an agency, what is it that you're looking for? What sort of factors become very important to the Candid platform when you're interested in an acquisition?
Even more so is, what are the clients the agency is working for, and what's the relationship that they have with that client? Is it a purely transactional, operational one? Then the value would be lower than if it's a more strategic connection into the advertiser. What's the role they play? And especially for advertisers, what makes that model interesting is that as marketing becomes more and more part of the business model, in many instances, I think we still talk about too much as marketing being an investment or a cost. So that is increasingly what valuations are going to be based on, is your ability to be that partner of driving the bottom line of your clients.
Interesting. And so I know you have specific areas of services that are more interesting for you as a group. What are those areas you're interested in? What are the key geographic markets that you're also looking to acquire in?
Yeah, so we currently operate in the UK physically, I would say, in the Netherlands and Belgium, although we have many clients that work globally. For us, the expansion is definitely focused on what I would say is the usual suspects, is the bigger markets in Europe. We're definitely starting to look at the US as an opportunity. And the areas we would be focusing on most is the consulting parts of the business, insights and innovation, definitely areas we focus on, and media investment management, the consulting area, the brand reputation area, and the media area.
This is a question we get from owners who are interested in engaging in the process of selling their agency, but they're a little bit nervous because people struggle with change. Right? Let's imagine you've owned your agency for 20 years. It's become a very comfortable place with the same people and the same routines. So people are genuinely scared of that change. So it might be interesting to just talk about, when you've acquired an agency, you've identified a target, you've acquired it, you've agreed a deal, you're doing the integration. What kind of things should an agency expect to change for its clients and for its staff in the first 90, 120 days?
Well, the thing with that is, Doug, it's sort of all or nothing. Right? To a certain extent, nothing changes because the agency is still the agency. And at the same time, everything changes because when you're a founder, all of a sudden you find yourself having a boss. And that can be a very big change and can be very difficult. So I have to say, we've learned by mistake as well. Over the years, we've operated. Even now, with the importance of AI coming in, there has to be that acceptance and also I would also say, ambition of an agency when it joins a platform like ours to make that change and to make that transition. And I think in many cases that also requires a much more open discussion or conversation with the leadership team that's in place. Is, are you really willing to make that decision? And I know that maybe sounds a bit harsh for me to say that on a podcast like this, but it's also a real question the founders need to ask themselves is, do I still feel that I can and want to be part of such a transition? Because it is going to be really different. A lot of the things, the small sentence people said, but we've always done it this way. Yeah, but always done it this way doesn't work anymore in the world we're going towards. So the change needs to happen. So it puts even more emphasis on having a frank conversation with a team or with an agency that joins a platform initiative like ours, or for any other acquisition that have in that market, is who are going to be the people that are going to be part of this next journey and this next, because it really is a different journey, and it really is a next phase in the development of an agency. And I think that's where you really need to find that cultural fit.
I'm glad you mentioned the cultural fit part, because that's something, as you probably know, that we focus a lot on. We're always in deals. We're looking for what we call empathetic M&A, where both sides are stronger as a result. And we think that makes the best deal. So in your experience, have you ever had what seems on paper like it's going to be a great fit? The numbers look good. But when you start talking to an agency, you realize that cultural fit isn't there.
Yeah, and I can say even honestly is that throughout the years where we've done acquisitions, that not only did those things surface in the initial conversations we had, but sadly enough, sometimes they also surfaced when the acquisition was already done and we found that there wasn't a fit. And then actually the acquisition wasn't successful. I think I'd be lying here if we were always able to get all that analysis and all the detail up front. I think that is really that is the hard part of finding the right agencies to join the initiative.
Do you see any skepticism in client teams or in agency teams of acquisitions or in existing agency teams towards the role of AI, either qualitatively or from an efficiency point of view?
No, I think everybody's buying the dream as long as we don't oversell the dream. And I think we've all seen the examples in our industry where AI was used for the wrong things. And don't fall in the trap of having AI replace your high-level strategic work, because that's exactly what clients want to work with you. If there is disappointment, it's because the agencies present something that feels very generic to a client. And that's logical, because if you use AI to do that work, it does become generic because that's what it's good at, pattern recognition, and it will come up with the same pattern every time. That's really where that combination of human ingenuity and machine learning comes in. So when I hear people talk about disappointment in AI or in what it can deliver, it's usually because it's been used the wrong way, not because AI isn't powerful.
Yeah. So if there's an independent owner who's listening or sees this content, where is it you're going now? What is it your ambition to become, so that they know if they were interested in joining you on this journey?
Where we want to take our collective is to really focus much more, I would say, on being that strategic partner for our clients. And I know that's been said a lot in our industry, and it's said by a lot of people. I think we are really putting our money where our mouth is by investing in it and creating the way to do it and the way to develop that. And I would say to every agency owner out there is make sure that an approach like that is mirrored in your relationship with your clients, and make sure that when you have the conversations that you're actually rewarded for the strategic value or the consultative value you're adding to the relationship with your client. And don't give it away because you'll think I'll make it up on production, because all those things, they are definitely going to change. And those models are going to be the ones that are most disruptive. And also don't fall in the trap of thinking that AI can replace everything, because it can't. It really is, in the end, a very, very effective instrument that can work in close conjunction with human ingenuity, but it doesn't replace human ingenuity.
So Ruud, just to summarize all that, really this is a great news story for our industry. We like to see groups such as Candid who are ambitious, who are looking towards AI as a supporting technology that's looking to enable them to grow, to look to new markets, and also to find agencies to become part of the group who offer new clients, new geographic markets to expand into, and also that they trade at the top level in terms of offering added value and strategic value to their clients.
Yeah, no, I would echo that. And I wouldn't necessarily say it's happy and great, so to say, because it is a challenge. our industry is going through a big change, and it is going to definitely require a different way of thinking and a different way of working. And we all have that tendency to say we embrace change, but change is difficult. It's a different way of working. It's about opening your mind. It's about seeing the opportunities, but also at the same time continuing to deliver what we've already been delivering very successfully for many years. There are big investments that go into these areas, and it's very hard to do that as a small standalone agency.
Well, thank you very much for sharing that vision with us, Ruud. And we'll look forward to seeing your progress over the coming months.
Thanks, Doc. And we will undoubtedly stay in touch.
The Agency Principles podcast is brought to you by the team at Agency Futures. If you like what you've heard today, then please follow or subscribe to get the latest updates. And if today's conversation has got you thinking about your own agency's future, where it's heading, what it's worth, or what your options actually are, we're always happy to have that conversation. We work exclusively with indie agencies globally, and you can find us at agencyfutures.com.